Variables are such an integral part to computer programming that it's hard to even start working in a program until we understand what these are. So we need to shift our thinking just slightly from math class when we're thinking about variables in programming. Variables are just a location in a computer's memory. It's just a place where we can store a value and we can reference that value with a name. So we can almost think of it as a box in our computer. Let's say that we wanted to keep track of the score of a game, okay? So we can say, hey, let's designate a box in our computer's memory, a container in our computer's memory, and let's call it score. And if I want to give that variable a value, I can put that value in that box or that container, or I can pull that value out and reference it. I can change it, I can put it back in that box and reference it later, okay? So variable is just a place in our computer's memory. When we are creating a variable in JavaScript, we use the keyword var and then a variable name. We'll talk about really good techniques for naming our variables later, but this is just creating a variable called score. We always include semicolons for almost every single line of JavaScript code. We'll talk about the exceptions to that in a future section. Var is the keyword, so you're saying, hey, designate a location in my computer's memory and call it score. Okay, so that's all that statement does. We can also create a variable and initialize it at the same time. That means we create a variable, keyword var, we give it a name, whatever we're going to name the container, and we give it a value, in this case of 0. We can also change or update the value of a variable using the assignment operator. The assignment operator is the equal sign. In this case, we have score with a value of 1, and then we have score with a value of 2. In math class, this would be a little weird because how could score have score be equal to 1 and score also be equal to 2? That is because in programming, this is not equal to. This is assigning a value. If we want to check for equality in programming, we use 2 or 3 of these equal signs, not just 1. When we just have 1, we are assigning a value. So that's one of the ways that we have to shift our thinking from math class. Now, I know I'll say it too. I'll say equal to 2. I know you've been taking math classes for, I don't know, a long time. So you're used to referring this as the equal to sign, but we need to shift our focus and think of it as assigning a value. So in this case, we are giving score a value of 2. Another thing that we need to think of in assignment statements as the order is important in an assignment statement. So in math, we could have something like score is equal to 5 plus 1. Or we could have 5 plus 1 equal to score. That will not work in programming. In programming, the variable name always has to be on the left, and the value always has to be on the right. It would not be valid. This would not be valid in programming. 5 plus 1 equals score would not be valid. Also, you only have to use the keyword var when you first create a variable. So you only need to include the var and the name of the variable one time. You don't have to use the var over and over again. Okay, so what kind of things can we store in this box? Well, remember our numerical string and boolean. We can have numbers, we can have strings, we can have booleans. So here, we're going to have a little pop quiz that I can't grade you on. So I just want you to think the answers in your head. Okay, so if we had x equals this, or x has a value of this, so we have a variable called x, it has this value. Would that be a numeric data type, a string data type, or a boolean data type? If you said string, you are correct. Okay, we have this. X has a value of 3.14. Would it be numeric, string, or boolean? Numeric. Did you get it right? What if we had x has a value of false? Would it be numeric, string, or Boolean? If you said Boolean, you are correct. What if x has a value of 3.14 in quotation marks? Trick question. It's a string. Remember, string can be numbers. You just can't do math with them. If it has quotation marks, that is a string. Okay, so if we have numbers like this, so if we had x it has a value of 3, would that be an integer or a float? And in JavaScript, it's called int. It would be an int. It's a whole number. If we had 3.14, would it be an int or a float? It would be, oh, my little code's messed up there. It would be a float. All right, which one of these is a valid statement in programming? If you said the top one, you are correct. Remember, the variable is on the left. The value that we are assigning it to is on the right.